my life, and really moved me onto this journey that I found myself on, and will I'm certain until the day it's time for me to transition off of this planet. But I have parents that come from two different worlds, totally different cultures, two different religious backgrounds, and primarily grew up in Arkansas for the most part. So I was born into perspective, multiple perspectives. So I got to see things from a couple of different angles, which I think has set me apart. And of course, as a kid, all we want is to be like everybody else, right? We don't want to be different. We don't want to be weird. And where life had positioned me, it sort of felt like I wasn't on this side or that side. I kind of fell in the crack. But as an adult, looking back at these experiences, I think that it really set me up for some insight and a pursuit of understanding and wisdom that really helped create and feed this passion that I have of human nature. So I ended up kind of falling into the psychology field. It was a prompt from a friend. I've always been interested in helping people. I grew up in a very service-oriented family. So we're kind and compassionate, and we do things for other people. And so if my friends were struggling with something, it wasn't uncommon for them to give me a call, and I talked to them for a couple of hours to sort of process through some of the things that they're dealing with. And I had been on the phone with a girlfriend when I was at ASU for a couple of hours talking about some things that issues she was having with her boyfriend. And at the end of the conversation, she said, Tharwat, you're pretty good at this. Have you ever considered taking a psychology class? And I paused for a second. I said, no, I've actually never considered psychology. It piqued my curiosity. The next semester, I signed up for a psychology class, and the rest is history. When I started ASU, I was a biology major, and by the time I left ASU, I had a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in sociology. So studying human nature has always been an intrinsic interest or fascination for me, of wanting to know why we do the things we do, why we think and feel the way that we think and feel, what motivates us, and then just from that point on, I have continued to study human nature and emotions, and have used that information from my experiences and my education to help people today through coaching and ShiftHer and retreats.
Oh, wow. Now, see, I know we're going to get more into ShiftHer in a few minutes, because that was one of the things that I found interesting about your bio also that you did. So let's get into the intentions and the resolutions thing, because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, I think I know a whole bunch of folks that are in psychology. They're very good listeners, for one. And you have to really be a good listener to help people with their issues. But yeah, they're very good listeners. They're people that give some of the best advice, and I think they'd be great. And I think that, some of the things I've seen and read about you, and I told you if I saw you would watch your interview with Judy, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta talk to her. She's good. So I am excited for you to be here tonight. So anyway, let's get into these intentions and these resolutions, because we got to get ourselves in line for whatever it is. 21 is going to have some surprises, I'm pretty sure. So we got to get ourselves in line to get those surprises and to be able to work through some stuff. So let's talk about that. Just kind of give me your feedback or your take on intentions versus resolutions.
Okay. So an intention is defined as a thing intended. It's an aim or a plan. A resolution is really a focus on an outcome. Resolution, it comes from the word resolve, right? So there's a fundamental and energetic difference between the two words intention and resolution. What makes resolution, I think, a little bit more challenging energetically is the fact that it does focus on an outcome. And everything psychological is simultaneously physiological. And I would say this when I was teaching psychology over and over and over again, because it is so important to understand thoughts are not just in the realm of non-things, of non-material, airy-fairy. Every thought that we have is triggering something physiological in our body, right? So one definition for anxiety, and anxiety is something that I'm sure nearly every single human being on the planet has some experience with, some of us more than others. Anxiety can happen when there is a gap between where I am now and where I want to be. So a particular outcome, maybe a goal that I've set for myself, and I can see where I want to be, the end. But then I'm looking at where I am right now, and there's a huge gap between the two, right? So that gap between where I am now and where I want to be can evoke a feeling or a sense of anxiety inside of me, because we have no idea how to get from point A to point B, or there may be so many steps that need to be taken between point A and point B that it can really eat us up with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of stress. So sometimes if we're focusing on this from that already, from out of the gate, from that point of view, we can defeat ourselves before we even really get started. Because if we're consumed with the stress and anxiety of how I'm going to manage this particular outcome, that anxiety can paralyze us from taking even the smallest steps in order to move us in the direction that we want to go. So this is a big reason as to why an intention is so much more powerful than a resolution, because an intention is really just, it's an aim, that it's a direction that I'm moving in. And when I'm moving in a particular direction, then it's emotionally and energetically easier to take those tiny little steps to move myself in that particular direction every single day.
Now that makes plenty of sense. That makes plenty of sense. Now, one of the things, like we talk about the intention, like you said, it is an aim or a plan, but it also is less rigid than having a resolution, because the resolution just declares, I am not going to do something. You haven't actually put anything in place to make sure that you don't do the thing. You just really just say, I'm just not going to do it. Well, on the intention side of it, it says, I aim to or I plan to. So it makes you put a little bit more thought into it. So now you have to sit down and really work out, how do you intend to make, or how you intend to hit your aim. I'll put it like that. That'll be
right.
the way to say it. So yeah, I like that part, because I'm a planner. I'm one of those folks that need to sit down and kind of work all the way from A to Z to make sure that I don't miss something. So that makes it a little bit easier for me, and it gives me a way to have something in place just in case I kind of sort of almost barely miss it. And you don't feel it bad. Because when you declare that you're not going to do something and then you turn around and do it, I think it's a psychological thing, because now it affects you, how you think about everything else, I'm assuming.
That's right. Dr. Carol Dweck, she wrote this book titled Mindset, and she talks about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And the fixed mindset, it really is sort of this mutually exclusive thing. I'm either succeeding or I'm failing. There's no in between. It's either or. I'm either passing or I'm failing. I'm either good or I'm bad. I'm either the victim or the villain. It's so finite and it's so fixed. There's no room to breathe in the growth mindset, it's a journey, it's a process. And just because I failed maybe this particular test doesn't mean that I'm no good. I need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that I'm no good at this particular thing. There's growth. Every time I make a mistake or there's a misstep or I fail something, it's an opportunity for me to learn maybe something that I didn't before, and I'm still growing and moving in that direction. So we have to be careful with resolutions. And like you said, the psychology behind the resolution, it's very easy to fall into that fixed mindset or that particular mentality. So we can defeat ourselves really before we even get started. If there's a misstep somewhere along the way, it can cause a deflation within us emotionally that makes it difficult to continue to move on. With the intention, it is very centered around growth mindset. So every little step matters. And even if I wake up today and I don't do anything toward my goal or my intention, there's still hope. There's still, that I'm still moving in the direction of my intention.
Yeah. And that gets into what we're going to talk about a little bit later about how to keep yourself motivated throughout the whole process also, because like, again, if we don't have those little plans and those little steps and those little missteps, and sometimes the whole is not even about the intention necessarily. Sometimes it is just about the journey. Sometimes you just need the process of going through and growing towards something and working on it that way, because you learn way more lessons, and you learn more lessons with mistakes than you do if everything goes perfectly well, throughout the whole process. So every once in a while, there'll be a little stumbling block. There'll be little things that'll come up that'll kind of throw you off the game just a little bit. Or it could be one of those days like I have them quite often where you just like, blah.
Right.
I feel like doing it today. It's just hard. So you have those days, but once you, kind of put those things in front of you and you have some plans and you have some steps to work towards, you can always just go back and pick up a step and keep moving. So
that's right.
It's a little bit easier for you to do. What are some of the things that we need to look at? Because when we start sitting down, again, I told you I'm a planner. So what are some tips that you could give folks to help them when they start setting intentions? Because the other part of it is, and I did a training on goal setting not too long ago for a group of folks. And one of the things that we talk about, we always use a SMART diagram. And I was explaining to them, don't get so set in trying to hit this goal that you get so rigid that you can't be flexible, that you can't, deviate from it just the slightest little bit. So what are some of the things that we can do when we're sitting down and we're writing our intentions? Because we do write them. They're not up here, people. The same thing when I teach budgeting. It's not up here. It's on paper. So we do write our intentions. But what are some tips that we can use to plan so that we have more success in possibly hitting our intentions?
Well, like you said, a very important step is to write them down. We're speaking it into existence, writing it into existence. There's something physiological that's happening inside of our body when we go that extra mile and we write this information down. We're moving ourselves into a creative space. We're opening and we're priming our subconscious pump also. So like, again, everything psychological is simultaneously physiological. So when we're having a conversation about things, speaking things into existence, or writing them down, then we're communicating to the subconscious mind that this is something important. Pay attention. There are little games that you can play with yourself, like think of one or two things, just maybe two neutral items. The first couple of things that pop into your head, like butterfly and green cars, and then just go on about your day and your week, and then at the end of the week, make note of how many times you saw butterflies and how many times you saw green cars. And the odds are you've seen them quite a few times, a handful of times, if you're really to keep track of it. And it's not mystical. It has nothing to do with magic. It has everything to do with all of these things are in the world around us at all times. There are trillions of pieces of information that we have available to us in any given moment, but we cannot consciously process all of that information at the same time. So we communicate to the subconscious what we think is important and we want paid attention to, where we want our attention directed, and the subconscious goes out and it scans the environment, the data available to us, and directs our attention toward the things that we've identified as important. So yes, that is a very important step for multiple reasons. To write this down, you're priming the subconscious pump to start paying attention to these particular goals or intentions that you're setting for yourself. Surrounding yourself also with supportive people. There's a saying that we are the average, the vibrational average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So keeping that in mind, and making sure, if you are setting an intention, a goal, that you are reaching out to the people that are going to help you get there, are going to be supportive, or that are going to maybe be able to share insight or information, perspectives, things that you might not naturally come to you, that will help move you in the direction you want to go in. It's also important to consider, when making these plans, the existence of momentum. When an intention is an aim, it's a plan, right? And at any point, at all times, everything we do, everything we pay attention to, every thought that we think, it's establishing momentum. And it is going to either be positive momentum or negative momentum. Even if all I do today in the direction of my intention is think a positive thought about it, then I'm feeding the positive momentum that's going to move me toward my goal. So being mindful of the action steps that we're taking, the thoughts that we're thinking, and making sure that we are consciously feeding the positive momentum of our goals and our intentions. And it's also important to note, when making plans, that it is these small steps, it's the small things that help us, or that make the biggest difference in manifesting our intentions. So we're always looking, when we're keeping a success log, and this is something important, I think, that a tool that can be used. So get a notebook, a journal, or print out a success log and make note of the tiny things that every day that you're doing that are moving you in the direction of your intention. And when I was in the PhD program for transpersonal psychology, and we were supposed to be starting the process of writing the dissertation, my advisor told me, do something every day. If the intention is to get this research paper written, then you want to do at least one thing every day that moves you in that direction, that feeds the positive momentum. She said it can be as small as opening up the document and writing the word "the." If that's all you know to do today, do it. So it's the tiniest steps that continue to build the fire of that positive momentum that are going to eventually lead to the big end results that we're after. Those are a few things that we can keep in mind, and some things that we can do that are going to help us achieve our goals.
Okay. I was actually trying to type all those up when you were saying I got 3 of them. Let me see. The last one, Speak Success Journal. I like that. I hadn't thought about that one before. That's a good idea, because on those days when it does get hard and you are struggling with how to keep going, or you're struggling to stay in the game, and you pull it out and you read, on this day I did this well and I was successful in doing this part of it. So now I can kind of get like you said, keep the positive momentum and keep going from it. So that's an awesome idea right there. Just alone, if you just, that's it. just even if we didn't set intentions, if we just kept that, I think that would be such a great thing to keep people just going. Because
Hmm.
part of it that really gets you is you get in it and you write the intentions, they sound all good, you make all these wonderful plans, and then you fall on your face.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Right. Absolutely. And all human beings have this fantastic ability to catastrophize. So, which means that, we can be doing really well, and then we have a really bad day, and all of a sudden we're ready to give up because it's all falling apart. Nothing is working, right? But if you have that journal that you've been keeping,
Mhm.
and you look back and you think, and you remind yourself, oh, I'm really doing a fantastic job. Like you have a record of the data that proves that you're really kicking butt. And just because you have this one bad day doesn't mean that the entire project has been derailed.
Exactly. And that's the thing right there, because like I said, bad days are gonna come. You just, as well as the sun shines, you know it's gonna be a day it doesn't shine, and you know it's gonna be a day where your energy is a little bit off and your thinking is a little bit off, and that's that day that you need to pull out that success journal and go, okay, I kicked butt these last 7 days, so I can
Right.
make it through this day, and then I can keep going. So I love that idea. So that's one. Now that's something I'm adding to my little listing that I'll be doing. Now I am I'm very visual. Now I'm that person that writes everything down, but I'm also the person that I sometimes have to draw things out because my brain works in these weird diagrams. So
Mhm.
even on setting intentions, when I sit down to make a plan of something, I sometimes have to draw out my steps. And for me, that'll be one more thing I can write in there that says building into the plan to say read success journal, because that's one of the things I can see you can easily get past it and not think of, how to pat yourself on the back sometimes, or how to encourage yourself sometimes to keep going. So I love that. I love that. I love that. And I really love keeping that positive, creating a positive momentum also. And that's something else when we talk about um, going back to SMART goal plan. I tell people celebrate the small victories.
Mhm.
The small victories are what fuel you to go on to the bigger victories, and they give you that energy to keep pushing on those days when you're going, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Right.
Because as sure as you got up one morning, it's going to be a day that is just not going to happen for you. So,
Mhm.
well, since we're in that area, we'll just keep talking about, things that are motivate you throughout the year. Now, something I'd add to that is you did say surround yourself with supportive people. I would also say get an accountability partner
Mhm.
on big intentions. And one of the things all of us said at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna do this, whatever, eat better. That's always somewhere in that list. I don't care whose list it is. For some reason, those two things are usually always there. In certain things, you need an accountability partner. You need somebody that you can kind of um, bounce ideas off of, maybe. If you have a friend who is really a good cook and they know how to make healthier meals than you do, then that's somebody you can share recipes with. That's somebody that you can go shopping with and kind of learn how to maybe buy better produce or buy different things. But having that accountability partner that also knows when to snap the towel on you when you're falling off your game and you're not doing exactly the things that you said you want to do in order to hit your intention. So I love that, making sure we got those people around us that are going to support us because, like you said, if
Mhm.
you're hanging out with negative folks and you're hanging out with folks that don't have any intentions, the 9 out of 10, yours are going to go down the drain also.
That's right.
So you do have to make sure that you line yourself up with positive energy. Let's see. Well, you know what? That kind of covers how we align ourselves. But talk a little bit more about that. What are some of the things that you do to help people when they're, oh, this is a big one. Mine, when we get a block, when there's just this block. How do you
Mhm.
help people get past that block when they just have, I've done the things on my list, I've worked my plan, I've worked the sideways and forward, and for some reason I'm just stuck. How do you help people when they're blocked?
Well, I believe so. In life, Amit Goswami, he is an Indian physicist. And in a documentary I was watching once a few years ago, he said something that has stuck with me. And that is that life is meant to be lived like a 50s doo-wop song. Doobie, 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 doo. There are times for doing and there are times for being. Life is really about a dance between both. And I like to say sometimes when we're experiencing a block or maybe low energy for a little while, where there's a lack of inspiration, that might be one of those periods of time in life where we're being asked to be. Just take a step back and be for a little bit. I have to remind myself on a regular basis that rest is just as productive as work. We live in a culture where it's the doing is glorified. It's all about productivity. It's all about success. It's all about the climb and the struggle. And because of that, we have this tendency, especially us as women, of beating ourselves up if we're not getting out there and making things happen every single day. So I would like to communicate. I have to remind myself and communicate to other people. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we're not going to feel inspired, or we're going to experience a block, and that just might be our inner self's way of saying it's time to take a step back and rest for a minute. Let the dust settle, clear, and and eventually, I guarantee, if you take a step back and you give yourself permission to just rest and relax, there will be a point at which you are inspired with the clarity of the next step, and you'll be able to continue moving forward.
Wow. I'm going to tell you something. My brain stuck on rest is just as productive as work. That's what I know. That ought to be on t-shirts. That ought to be on because, oh my God, I keep telling people, one of the things for the last couple of weeks I've learned, I've had so many aha moments. And it's funny because it's stuff that you know.
Right.
Having to have people to tell it to me again, for me to go, oh my God, rest is just as productive as work. Because guess what? I'm one of those people that thinks that you're never supposed to slow down, never supposed to stop. Even when I'm not feeling well, I'm still trying to push and do. And I don't get that. I probably could be more productive if I would just stop and rest for a little while. So that's a whole sermon for women right there by itself. For women, particularly working mothers.
Right. I mean, I constantly have to remind myself of that very thing. And when I give myself permission, it's all about inspired action versus forced action. And if you're having to force something into place, then something's not right. We need to take a step back and take inventory and look at what we're doing and reprioritize maybe. Because when we're existing in the space of inspired action, I guarantee we are going to be so much more productive in shorter periods of time or shorter bursts of time. It's not about quantity anymore. It's about quality. And when I give myself that permission to take a step back and rest, when I feel the inspiration to get up and move again, I am so much more effective. And it takes a lot less energy than it would if I were pushing myself or forcing myself to take those steps.
You are so right. That I'm sitting here going, okay, wait a minute. Then you already know this. Because that's one of those things again that you go, aha, but you're like, wait a minute. Then you already know this. Why does somebody have to tell you this again? That is honest to God truth, because I've had days where I've pushed and pushed and pushed, and I've gotten things done, but I couldn't tell you what I got done.
Right.
And then I've had days where I stopped and I rested and I sit for a little while and I got quiet and I went on my little vacation in my head for a couple of minutes and I let everything go, and then I came back and it was like bam, and you hit it. The idea now pops in your head. Now I know how to write this report. Now I know how to fix this. And you are, oh my God, that is so right.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, so, so right. Now, that's a good segue in the ShiftHer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to make sure that you talk about that and let us know how that works, what it is, how did that concept come up, how does that help women? Just talk about it as much as you want.
Okay, I mean, that is actually a perfect segue into ShiftHer, because all of those things that we were just talking about, that really is some of the building blocks, the philosophy of ShiftHer. We have a passion for helping women redefine our role in life. We've existed in a very masculine energy dominant society or culture for thousands of years. Now, masculine and feminine energy, it's not just to do with being a male or a female. It's not just to do with like testosterone and estrogen and being girly or being manly. Masculine and feminine energy, it's energy that exists inside of every single one of us, whether or not we're male or we're female. We have different locations in our brain that are associated with masculine energy types of tasks and thinking, and feminine tasks and thinking, the feminine energy, right? I mean, again, everything psychological is simultaneously physiological. The feminine has to do with the subconscious. It has to do with the intuitive, creative abilities. It has to do with inspiration. The masculine has to do with it's the logical, it's the planning, it's the action, all the doing. It's really like the muscle and the effort in life, right? We have, every single one of us has both inside of ourselves. A really healthy, well-rounded individual has a balance between the two inside of themselves. We've been very imbalanced as just human beings in general within ourselves, right? And a lot of our culture, a lot of the professional world is geared more toward the masculine, which is about the climbing the ladder. It's about the productivity, the working, the pushing. It's about having this it's like a factory where it's all about output and quantity, and real it's very doing, and it can be very forceful and has nothing to do with alignment or our internal guidance system. It's very based on numbers, and it has its place in the world. And if we really stop and think about it, a lot of women have come a long way. We've really fought for our place in society and in the professional world, which is wonderful. But a lot of the women who have been uber successful are women who have done it the men's way, like in the masculine system, right? Mm-hmm. So we have developed these limiting beliefs that in order for us to be successful, we have to choose. Like, you can't have a family and be successful at work at the same time. There's got to be a sacrifice somewhere. So it's been a struggle for a lot of women in order to feel satisfied in both areas, their professional life and their family life, because of the way that the system has been designed. So we have a desire to create a culture that helps us to break free from those limiting beliefs. You know what? We can be there for our families and have a successful career at the same time. We don't have to choose. We can have it both. And we can learn how to work less and make more money. It doesn't, all of these limiting beliefs that we have been fed our entire lifetime, we're really working at busting through those and redefining what success is. And we are also working at creating this culture of collaboration over competition. That's another thing that's really dominant in a masculine energy system. It's very, very competitive. Mm-hmm. It's based off of social power. And social power is kind of like there are only so many chocolate chip cookies on the planet, and I have to go out there and grab as many of them as I can and put them in my cookie jar. And then, if you do something for me, I might share a couple of cookies with you, but it's based off of this limited resources, and I have to get as many of those resources as I can, because more resources equals more power. And I want to feel the security and the safety of having the, that type of power, right? Well, the feminine energy in this new way of existing or being has nothing to do with social power and everything to do with personal power, which is an entirely different system. It's based off of sustainability. It's based off of the unlimited, and it's something that that is really generated from within. We cannot control our conditions. It'd be nice, but when we end up on this roller coaster, is this going to be a good day or a bad day? Is this person going to be nice to me or mean to me? Am I going to land this deal at work, or are they going to walk away? And if my emotions, my peace and happiness and my definition of success is tied up into all of that, that's really volatile. Yes. It's unsustainable. I can land a deal today and be on top of the world, and then lose a deal tomorrow and be in the depths of despair. Well, personal power is about stepping out of that philosophy. It's about my emotion isn't contingent upon the conditions any longer. It's it really is a different way of existing. It's the space between the stimulus and response. It's moving into this place where we're not reactive, we're responsive. There's just so much to it, and it's so exciting. And we're encouraging these collaborative, positive, healthy relationships. There's no need for competition. Let's work together, build each other up, break through these limiting beliefs. So the way that the ShiftHer is structured, it really is it's a mastermind model created for women to help us level up in both business and life. You don't have to have your own business to be a part of ShiftHer. You can be interested in just breaking free from limiting beliefs that have held you back personally, professionally. It doesn't matter. But we have a curriculum, individual. We've gone out and done the research and read the books. And so we have this curriculum, these books and these lessons that we have you walk through on a month-to-month basis. And then, like you said earlier, you have an accountability group that you're working with. So you're doing this individual work with a group. And it's been really a beautiful experience to be a part of.
That sounds amazing. And I don't know any women or any woman that wouldn't benefit from being a part of something like that. And you are so right. The collaboration is so much better than the competition. It works out so much easier when we can kind of hold each other up and build each other and help out with different things and share some of that burden. Because even in this day and time, there's still first for women. And there are a lot of women that are out there making things happen. And I think after you get to a certain point, maybe they feel sort of alone, but to have a group around you who can kind of pull you in and go, hey, here's some ways to walk through this and walk through it together, that is amazing. So that sounds, that's great. Now, if somebody wanted to participate in ShiftHer, how could they participate?
Well, we have a website, www.shifther.co. You would go to the website and you would sign up to be added to the email list, because we only launch 4 times a year new groups. And when you're added to the email list, then we have your contact information to notify you when the next launch is coming up. And we actually have a launch coming up at the end of this month on January 25th. We're going to be opening up, and it runs for a week. And we have a pop-up Facebook group that you can join to get all the information, to meet other people, to ask questions. But on January 25th, we open up the sign-ups for the next launch, then it's quarterly throughout the year after that. And it's and that's how we'll make sure that you get all the information that you need and all your questions are answered. There's some basic information on the website. And then we also, in between launches, we offer master classes or workshops. We have a workshop coming up on January 24th, and it's about relationships, how to have, we don't know how to relationship. And a lot of women that come to us at ShiftHer, they don't have, maybe they don't feel supported by other people, or they don't have healthy female relationships, because we can be very competitive. We don't maybe have healthy relationships at work. So this workshop is really geared toward, whether it's personal, professional, and intimate relationship, how to have these strong and healthy relationships where everybody feels safe and everybody feels fed. And then we also have the ShiftHer community. So when you sign up for one of the launches and you join, then you have a lifetime membership to the ShiftHer community. So you have access to any woman that's ever been through the ShiftHer program, so we can continue that support. You have this community of women that will celebrate your wins with you. You have this community of women that are going to support you when you're moving through maybe something difficult in life.
That is, I love it. That sounds amazing. I like the fact that you said you get the lifetime membership to ShiftHer community, because the part of it is you get in the program and the program is over. You do need that support afterwards, and then having that community of people around you, like you said, that are going to celebrate with you or help you move through those difficult times. That sounds wonderful. So I'm so glad that you shared that information with ShiftHer with us, because when I read it on the website, I was like, yeah, we got to talk about that, because I want to know how it works. So we'll get a little more detail. And that way, if there's somebody interested, they can go and make sure that they get signed up. Let's see. We are about 10 minutes out. Now, I will tell you something. The very first 8 minutes of the show, I thought I was recording, and I was not.
Okay. It happens.
But either way, so I might repeat some of that stuff, but not all of it, just some of it. But anyway, I want to make sure that if there's any other follow-up things that you wanted to add on, the tips for setting our intentions for this year, or any other information that you want to add to that, and then I'm going to repeat a little bit of the beginning, then we're going to be done. But if there's anything that you want to anything else you want to add as far as setting intentions, or just kind of giving some tips or some encouragement, because I know that there's somebody who's going to watch this and go, okay, I need a little bit of boost to get started. So if there's something that you can even talk to about just getting started, because oddly enough, I think sometimes we know what we want to do, but we don't even know how to start trying to do what we want to do. So just give a little bit of tip on that just real quick.
Sure. A great way to get started is a vision board. So if you know that you want to make some changes this year, or just even move closer to a better version of yourself, then, and you can do this by cutting pictures out of magazines, or you can do this. There are lots of apps that you can download where you can create digital vision boards. But a great way to do this is to, if you're going to get just rudimentary, go to the store and buy a poster board, and then grab a bunch of magazines and newspapers and flip through them, and anything that evokes a feeling in you. I have, as a life coach, I have a lot of people that come to me, and they say some people are very visual. I know you said that you're a very visual person, but there are a lot of people who are not. They can't see in their mind what they want their future to look like. It's really hard for them to pinpoint that. And so what I suggest, I'm not a super visual person either. I'm a very emotional person. So I say, how do you want to feel? If you don't know specifically in your mind what it looks like, you do know how you want to feel. Do you want to feel abundant? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel successful? Do you want to feel educated, or do you want to feel expansive? What do you want to feel? And then as you're flipping through the magazines, which of the pictures that trigger that feeling inside of you that you desire, or that you can relate to, and then cut those pictures out and glue them onto your vision board. So start with that, and then you will have something physical that you can look at that represents your intentions. It represents whether it's something visual, maybe you know for sure that you want to take a trip somewhere, you want to take a vacation. And so, you have that specifically on your board. And maybe the other thing is that you just, whatever it looks like, I want to feel like I have succeeded at something this year. And so, a picture that evokes that emotion, you put that on there. And then I guarantee it'll all begin to fall into place. It'll all begin over time to come more and more into focus. And personally, I like keeping things more general than specific, because the universe is so brilliant, and on our team, it's going to, when I keep things general, I am oftentimes led to things that I couldn't have imagined, that I wouldn't have known to build or to create, that are better than I could dream of. So I'm giving that I'm setting that intention, that aim, or that goal. I'm giving the general instructions, and then life presents to me these beautiful opportunities that are I tell, better than fiction. I tell people, if you're doing life right, then it is going to be stranger than fiction. And it's supposed to be easy. Life is not supposed to be hard. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be challenges, and there aren't going to be moments that, where there's blood, sweat, and tears. But if you're doing life right, when you are engaging in life in a way that you're passionate about, that you love, right? Then it's different. It's different working for hours on something you love versus working for hours on something that you don't love. And so that's where the ease comes in. The ease comes with that alignment.
That is awesome, awesome, awesome advice. Now, I am a fan of vision boards, and I've made several of them in my lifetime. So, and that is a very good way to kick it off, because if you are a visual person like me, you need the thing that you can go and look at almost on a daily basis and go, okay, keep the goals in front of you, keep your intentions in front of you, so that makes it a little bit easier for you to get up every day and work towards them. So that is awesome advice. I appreciate that. So we have about 5 minutes left. So now I'm going to go ahead and repeat my very beginning part. Happy New Year. I did say that. So first, let me thank you for coming through. I so appreciate you being on tonight. I appreciate all the information. I took notes a little bit in the comment section, so if somebody goes back and watches the show, they can kind of get those tips that you gave about how to kind of get started and how to stay on track to be successful. Appreciate everything. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you this evening and have enjoyed the information, and I hope that everybody else did too. And I hope that everybody watches, they get something from this, because we all know that every year at whatever point, and it doesn't necessarily mean at the beginning of each year you do this, but sometime during the year, everybody makes intentions or sets resolutions or does whatever. So this way you can go back anytime during the year. If you want to start in October doing something different, start in October. The thing is that you start. And if you have a way to start. So we've heard that one of the ways to start is to start your vision board. And the other things are listed in the comments. So make sure you go back and check that out. But thank you again. I appreciate you coming on tonight. And I want you to stick around for just a second after we go off the air so I can get a picture. And then I'm going to turn you loose for the night, because I know you're ready to get your rest, and I am too. But Happy New Year to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night at 7. We have an amazing show. I always have amazing guests that give some of the greatest information, and I appreciate them coming on every week. I hope that everybody had a wonderful day, that you have a good evening. Again, keep everybody in your prayers. We lost a lot of folks in 2020, and 2021 is starting to kind of show a little bit of attitude too. So we got to stay prayed up, but make sure that we are saying prayers for those families who have lost loved ones due to the pandemic, and for all other losses. Make sure that we are still washing our hands, that we are still social distancing, and that we are keeping our masks on, because this thing is not over yet. Now, I know we thought that by 21 we'd be free again. We're not free just yet, y'all. So make sure that if you don't have to be out, don't go out. Understand if you have to go to work still, or if you have to go out and get groceries, you have to do necessary things. But if you do not have to be out, please don't go out. We've got to do everything we can to get this thing under control so that we can go back to, I'm not going to say back to normal, because I don't think we'll ever be that normal again, but something better than having to distance and to hand wash. No, y'all keep washing your hands. I have issue with that. Keep washing your hands, man. Don't stop doing that. We should have been doing it anyway. That's one of those things we learned in kindergarten. But we all want to get back to where we can have our family gatherings and we can do things together again. And the sooner we combat this pandemic and we get COVID under control, then the sooner we can do that. So continue to wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, pray for each other, take care of each other. Um, we have a new era about to happen by the end of this month. Again, I cannot say certain things. I want to boost this post. But make sure that we just pray. Pray for our nation, pray for each other, and everybody take care. So again, Tharwat, thank you so much. I appreciate you tonight, and I appreciate all of you all tuning in. So that is our show for the night. This is the Ladies Down to Wonder Lowe. I'm your host. I will see you again next Tuesday, same place, same time, 7 p.m. And I will have another great show for you with some more great guests. So I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.